Hello everybody and welcome to Estoril for the second race of the 2016 Euroformula Open season. It was Leonardo Pulcini who scored the win in the season open yesterday, but who will be leaving Portugal with the biggest smile on their face? We will find out over the course of the next 40 minutes or so. A 19-lap race ahead of us, and this the first of 8 stops on a tour around some of Europe's finest circuits. Well, on behalf of everybody in the Euroformula Open paddock and myself, Ben Evans, it's a very warm welcome to Estoril. You join us on a glorious day. The sun is shining, although it is a little bit breezy. Perfect conditions to go motor racing, and we should be in for an absolute thriller. Lining up in pole position is Jack Aitken, the reigning Formula Renault 2-litre Euro Cup champion, a Renault young driver who was in the wars early on in yesterday's race. It left the way clear for Leonardo Pulcini and Campos Racing to come through and take the victory. Pulcini's second career win, as the grid just beginning to be cleared ahead of this second race of the season. So Jack Aitken and Leonardo Pulcini on the front row. Then Damiano Fioravanti and Diego Menchaca on row 2. Colton Herta and Ferdinand Habsburg a very strong row 3, clear of Tatiana Calderon and the hard-charging Igor Wililko, who complete the top 8. Fifth row, Julio Moreno and Anthony Patak. Patak, one of several drivers to be disappointed by early retirement yesterday. And then Kadati Kasiri and the impressive German Kevin Andres, who came up through the pack very nicely in yesterday's race. Tanat Sathi and Thirikul will be disappointed with 15th on the grid, but he and Nikita Zlobin should both make progress through the field. Same goes for Daniel Panenko, the BVM car looking well set up. And Daniele Casaniga, very quick in race spec in the first race of the weekend. He shares the 10th row with Jose Manuel Vilauta. For Petru Floresco, disappointment. He is at the back of the field alongside Korhozen Abdullayev. So that is how the pack are gridded up. 19 laps, 35 minutes, whichever comes sooner. And well, yesterday we had a very dramatic start to the race. Contact before the first corner between Anthony Patak and Tatiana Calderon eliminated them from proceedings, and then later on around the first lap, Colton Herta and Jack Aitken had a coming together. Colton Herta was out on the spot. Jack Aitken picked up damage and struggled. That left the way clear for Pulcini to take victory from Ferdinand Habsburg and Diego Menchaca. So will Pulcini be able to get the double victory? Will Jack Aitken be able to convert pole position for RP Motorsport? Cars about to go off onto their green flag formation lap. Last opportunity to see how the Estoril circuit is prepared. This the final sighting lap ahead of the second race of the Euroformula Open season. If you have never seen the Euroformula Open before, then you're in for a bit of a treat. This is a championship for Formula 3 machinery. It is the Dallara F312 chassis which equips the field. They run on a control compound Michelin tyre, and then there are also control engines and other components that are supplied by the championship organisers, the GT Sport organisation. As a result, it helps to keep costs at Formula 3 level to a very affordable margin, and that means that you have a big grid and you have a lot of young up-and-coming drivers taking their first steps into international motorsport by joining the championship, as evidenced this year by the entry of the powerhouse Carlin team into the championship, but also the Fortec squad as well. That was a late tie-up for Fortec to be on the grid with Igor Wililko. We have got the Teo Martin Motorsport squad, which has retained a lot of the technical expertise from Emilio De Velotta's team, but of course Campos Racing, RP Motorsport, DAV Racing, BVM have been part of the championship for many years and know all the tricks inside out about these cars. Well, tyres, I think, could be a big talking point today. I was talking to some of the drivers this morning and they were saying the Michelin tyre is incredibly grippy, but because of the abrasion here on the Estoril circuit, they have to make a choice depending really on how the first lap goes, which is, do they push very hard and try and build a buffer in the opening laps, or do they conserve the tyre, knowing that if they push hard it will start to go away from them after 5 laps, which will make the remaining 13, 14 laps of the race pretty tricky to keep that level of grip. And that's what we saw yesterday, with differing strategies in terms of the way the drivers were pushing the tyres. Pulcini pushed very hard early on, built the margin, then conserved his tyres late on. Others kept their tyres in reserve. There is the Drivex car, Ferdinand Habsburg. It's clear of Tatiana Calderon. We'll be hoping for much better today after the disappointment of retiring before the first corner in yesterday's race. A little bit of a weave there from Jack Aitken, just getting the heat into the Michelin tyre, making sure that he's able to get off the line as good as possible. Yesterday he didn't make such a good start, and it was others behind who were able to get the jump on him towards turn one. It's quite a long stretch towards the first corner here in Estoril, and it's quite a steep downhill run as well. So the cars forming up on the grid, ready for the race. We're just a couple of moments away from going racing once more here in Estoril. And this is the point of heightened tension in the garages. Really waiting to see how the first few corners unfold. It's a very, very competitive grid that we've got this year in the Euroformula Open. Skhoizen, Abdullayev and Petru Floresco come into position. And we've got a car in trouble on the grid, or just slightly out of position. Now they're all lined up as they should be. The green flag waved from the marshal at the rear of the field. We're about to go racing in Portugal. The revs rise. Who's going to get the jump? Away we go. It's a good start from Pulcini. It's a good getaway too from pole for Jack Aitken, who jumps in for the early advantage. It's side by side between Menchaca and Fioravanti, just behind, 3 or 4 wide in the midfield. Ferdinand Habsburg once more making a good getaway, but Colton Herter sees him off through turn 1. So they head down towards turn 2. Already the leading duo sprinting clear as everybody else just about cleanly through. 1 or 2 of them running wide, a little bit further behind. They know this first lap is the best chance to gain a little bit of ground. So then sweep uphill out of turn 3 into the tight left-hander at turn 4. That's going to bring them back behind the pits. And already Pulcini chasing Jack Aitken, then Fioravanti and Menchaca battling over third. It's Colton Herter in 5th, Tatiana Calderon up into 6th place, Ferdinand Habsburg in 7th, Julio Moreno in 8th. As again they all fan out on the brakes. Kevin Andres looking to make a little bit of ground over Miele Casaniga and Kang Ling as well. 2 DAV cars there in the midfield. There's Jose Manuel Villalta, 18th position, but he's made a little bit of ground off the start as Calderon runs slightly wide into the chicane. It doesn't give Habsburg the opportunity to challenge. Instead, we'll see a lot of the overtaking coming along the start and finish straight, taking advantage of the slipstream, particularly today as it is quite breezy. But the leading quartet all beginning to ease clear of each other. This has been an absolutely fantastic first lap from Jack Aitken, something that he did several times last year in the Formula Renault Euro Cup, and it means that he leads by 8/10 second over Leonardo Pulcini. Then we've got this fight for third. Fioravanti thinks about defending from Menchaca, realises that he doesn't need to do it. Got challenges going on behind. Julio Moreno was coming under a little bit of pressure. That was from Igor Walilko in the Fortec car. Walilko was spectacular in race 1 and was finding ways to pass where really it wasn't that possible. He has got Kevin Andres and Kang Ling tucked up behind him. Then it's the second of the Chinese drivers, Ye Hong Li, in the first of the BVM entries. It's the 2 leaders head along the back stretch through turn 5, then on the brakes towards turn 6. Good battle brewing for 6th position. Tatiana Calderon in the predominantly white Teo Martin Motorsport car, under real pressure from the Drivex entry of Ferdinand Habsburg. Habsburg runner-up in race 1. And after a difficult qualifying this morning, was always going to have a little bit more to do second time around. Aitken and Pulcini stretching their legs early on. Fioravanti hasn't got Menchaca breathing down his neck. Colton Herter, get the sense, would be keen to see if he could do something about moving clear of Menchaca. And it's currently Herter who leads the rookie race from Habsburg and Kevin Andres, as swooping through the Parabolica to conclude the second lap of the race. Habsburg's lost a little bit of ground to Calderon. Instead, the driver most likely to is Igor Wililko in the red and white Fortec car up behind the orange machine of Julio Moreno. Moreno moves across to cover the inside line in his Campos Racing entry, and he might just be able to tough it out here with Wililko. Wililko looks at the outside, then will try for the cutback on the short sprint downhill towards turn 2, and he draws alongside Moreno and goes past. Lovely move from Igor Wililko, once more showing absolutely phenomenal commitment in race conditions. Kevin Andres, meanwhile, has a little bit of a moment further down the field. In fact, I think that was his teammate Amaya Vaidyanathan, the Indian driver, recovering though without the loss of too much ground. Now is Moreno going to look to challenge Wililko? Was in fact going to be Kevin Andres who challenges Moreno. This is the fight for 8th place. There's still some points at stake for them. So out front, Jack Aitken running a little bit wide coming out of turn 8. Needs to be mindful of the track limits. The last thing he wants is to pick up some sort of a penalty. Now Colton Herter appreciably closer to Diego Menchaca as they went through the chicane, but is Herter going to be able to stick in that turbulent air behind the Mexican driver, as that is good move from Petru for the rescue, moving clear of Tanart Sathian Thirikul. Sathian Thirikul, the RP Motorsport car, also under pressure from Nikita Zlobin, and Zlobin finds his way past as well. It's been a very good lap for the two Teo Martin Motorsport drivers, and now it's the turn of Daniele Casaniga to look to challenge. Meanwhile, Herter not close enough to Menchaca, as behind at the back of the pit straight you can see them all jostling for ground. Zlobin drawing alongside, was also looking to try and punch his way through. Kandati Kasiri unable to find a way past Vaidyanathan. Denko also the driver looking to try and gain ground in these early stages. Meanwhile, Jack Aitken still leads from Pulcini, and then Damiano Fioravanti has just eased away from Diego Menchaca, but that could be Fioravanti gambling on using up the tyre a little bit more aggressively in the early stages of the race. And Menchaca may come back at him a little bit later on, because we're still in the very early running here, just on lap 4 of 19. Still Tatiana Calderon in 6th place, standing the pressure from Ferdinand Habsburg. Habsburg Drivex car really enjoying the power of the Euroformula Open machine. It's very quick on a one-off appearance at the tail end of last season, Circuit to Catalunya, and again impressive yesterday, benefiting really from a lightning start. Plenty of intense fighting going on throughout the field, but as is ever the case in the Euroformula Open, because these cars, relatively speaking, actually have more grip than power, braking distances are really quite short. Once you get to the turbulent air of the car in front, you start to have to ask a little bit more of the tyre. You find yourself understeering a little bit, and therefore it can be quite hard to craft the overtaking opportunity. There's still a long way to go. Is Kang Ling, as Julio Moreno comes under a little bit of pressure from the former Skip Barber Winter Series champion Kevin Andres. Kang Ling just tucked in behind. Andres also battling currently for 3rd place in the Rookie Trophy, which is where he finished yesterday. It's Yi Hong Li, the Chinese driver, graduate from the former Renault Euro Cup, who is looking to close up onto his tail. Calderon runs a little bit wide through turn 6, but doesn't open the door at all for Ferdinand Habsburg. Habsburg, though, looking to close up, tries to apply a little bit of pressure at turn 7. None of this of any concern for Jack Aitken and Leonardo Pulcini. They have broken well clear of the rest of the field. Fioravanti likewise has pulled the pin, built up over a second's buffer on the former BRDC Formula 4 Championship racer Diego Menchaca. And Menchaca has got MSA Formula graduate Colton Herter in the Carling car tucked up right behind him. The heat haze shimmers off the cars as they sprint towards turn 1 into lap 6 on the brakes over the vicious bumps that greet the drivers on the way into this first turn. Doesn't unsettle Colton Herta or Diego Menchaca too much. What about Ferdinand Habsburg? Well, he is being caught now by Igor Wililko, and Wililko once more in the Fortec car forces the mistake from Habsburg, who runs very, very wide coming out to turn 2, rejoins the track at turn 3, just in front of Kevin Andres. Oh, that was a tiny mistake from Ferdinand Habsburg, but he was really quite punished for it. The loss of several places, and he has now got Andres tucked up right behind him. We'll look to challenge. Of course, the other question is going to be how much grass that DriveX car ingested, and therefore whether or not the engine temperature is going to be manageable. Habsburg defends into turn 6. First heavy braking point as well after his moment. Those bits of grit and dirt will have been fired out to coat his tyres, but it doesn't perturb him. More grass gets kicked aside from Habsburg as he runs downhill towards turn 7, then swings through 8 and 9 into the chicane. Here is another look at it. The car just understeering wide at turn 2. Just at the point where Habsburg was getting to that stage where he was about to launch a challenge on that 6th position. It's now slipped down into 9th place. Releases Igor Wililko though to see what he could do about demoting Tatiana Calderon. Battle for 4th and 5th remains as it was. Colton Herta in pursuit of Diego Menchaca. Herta making the decision reasonably late in the winter to step up to international competition, but it's one that seems to be vindicated. Yesterday we didn't really get a true sense of his race pace with his early retirement, but today he's clearly got a very nicely grounded car underneath him. The question is, if he can find a way past Diego Menchaca, could he do anything about Damiano Fioravanti? There is the Fortec entry of Igor Wililko, and the Fortec team this weekend benefiting from a lot of the technical expertise from Team Westtech crew members, as Andres looks to the inside of Ferdinand Habsburg into turn 6. Habsburg, though, doesn't even move offline to defend. He's going to let Andres do all the hard work, because of course if they start to work together they might be able to do something about Julio Moreno in front of them. Habsburg, of course, with a very busy season ahead of him. He's also competing in Formula Renault 2 litre racing, getting as much experience under his belt as possible. It is these more powerful Euroformula Open cars that he seems to be particularly enjoying, and the same can be said through the winter when he was a multiple race winner in the Toyota New Zealand Championship against some very well fancied opposition. Habsburg picks up the throttle coming out of the Parabolica. Field stream along the start and finish straight once more. Is anybody going to be close enough to challenge this time into turn 1? No, they're not. Wililko, though, looking to apply the pressure to Tatiana Calderon. Calderon, who spent the past couple of seasons in the FIA Formula 3 Championship, returning to the Euroformula Open. She last competed in the series back in 2012. This season really spearheading the Teo Martin Motorsport assault this weekend. And after the disappointment of retiring so early yesterday, a solid 6th place, good race pace is exactly what the team will have been wanting to see. Jack Aitken, our race leader, from Leonardo Pulcini, then Damiano Fioravanti, Diego Menchaca and Colton Herta. That's your top 5. In terms of the rookie fight, Colton Herta leads that from Ferdinand Habsburg and Kevin Andres, and we're currently watching the battle for those 2nd and 3rd places on the rookie rostrum. Andres applying all sorts of pressure to Ferdinand Habsburg, but Habsburg at the moment able to absorb what Andres is throwing at him. They've got Kang Ling queuing up behind them as well, but we are really seeing cars being so evenly matched that finding an overtaking opportunity is proving to be very difficult, as we are just over a third of the way through the race. 11 laps remaining. Diego Menchaca, 4th position. Exits the first turn with Colton Herta, not quite as close as he was from a couple of moments ago. Could be that Menchaca now is feeling the car coming to him, feels confident in just elevating his pace a little bit. He's got 1.8 seconds to Damiano Fioravanti to try and close in. It's really a reversal of the way that the race unfolded yesterday, when Menchaka had third place and Fioravanti was trying to chase him down. Polish driver Igor Walilko switching across from the RP Motorsport team to Fortec for the season. He finished 10th in last year's championship, picked up a couple of strong podiums, but was smiling broadly after yesterday's race. Had a brief conversation with him and he was disappointed with how qualifying had worked out. Felt that the car was much better than qualifying had allowed, and again that's proved to be the case in these early stages of today's race. Able to make a lot of ground early on. Can he hustle himself into the top 6? He's got to find a way past Tatiana Calderon. Meanwhile, Ferdinand Habsburg, after that mistake a couple of laps ago, would seem to have just managed to bridge the gap to Kevin Andres. Over the line goes Jack Aitken. He is 3.3 seconds clear of Leonardo Pulcini, but Pulcini, after scoring maximum points in yesterday's race, won't be too disappointed, I'd imagine, with a second place finish today. Menchaka and Herta swoop downhill. Diego Menchaka last time around lost a couple of tenths of a second to Damiano Fioravanti. It means that Fioravanti's third place is now secure to the tune of a couple of seconds. And in turn, Colton Herta has got a big buffer over Tatiana Calderon. Now that is good news for Colton Herta. It means that as the race unfolds and he starts to look to line up a move on Diego Menchaka, he's going to have the opportunity to do that. Meanwhile, a little bit further down the field, Yi Hong Lee comes under attack from Amaya Vadanathan, and Hong Lee runs out a road through turn 2, again understeering in the turbulent air. Rejoins, fortunately, without spearing into Candide Kasiri, but it's a loss of a place for Yi Hong Lee. Slips down to 14th position as a result. It's this Parabolica which really asks the most of the tyres, puts a great strain on the Michelin. Very abrasive corner and a constant radius high-speed bend. It means there are lots of G-forces at play through the car. Now down the start of the finish straight, Herta is a little bit closer to Menchaka this time around. Is he close enough to challenge into turn 1? Well, the toe was enough to bring him into territory to have a little bit of a look, but he wasn't quite close enough to draw alongside and really make the move stick. But now Herta turns up the wick as he closes onto the tail of Diego Menchaka. 21-year-old Mexican, though, in his second season in the Euroformula Open. He finished 8th in the championship last year, and surely going to be one of the title favourites. That said, Colton Herta finishing 3rd in the MSA Formula last season with 3 victories to his credit. The American driver now making Diego Menchaka just have to dig a little bit deeper, but of course as the pair of them start to battle, it is allowing Fioravanti to make that 3rd place ever safer. The real key for Herta is to repeat the trick from last time around, which was to be up close to Menchaka through that final Parabolica. The same applies to Igor Walilko, as he seems to be easing just a little bit closer to the rear spoiler of Tatiana Calderon's car, and will be looking to maybe challenge towards turn 1. You just caught a glimpse there of the Spanish flag on the side of Igor Walilko's car, and that's because this weekend also forms the first round of the Spanish Formula 3 Championship, alongside the races later in the year in Barcelona and Jerez. While more action behind. Very, very close. I think that was Tanat Sathian Thirikul making the move, and Daniel Krenenko, well, he's trying to, the BVM driver, coming back at Sathian Thirikul. Through turn 1, no change in the order. No change either between Menchaka and Herta. And again, Herta closing up on Diego Menchaka along the start and finish straight, but unable to hustle his way past the Mexican. Behind you also got a glimpse of Calderon, who is still just able to manage the gap back to Igor Wililko. So now that Herta's had a couple of laps of pushing, I suspect he's probably going to maybe just take a lap to take stock, not push the tyres quite as hard, and then come back at Menchaka. He's still got time in his pocket. We have got 8 laps remaining. Jack Aitken leads, 4.2 seconds clear of Leonardo Pulcini, and then Damiano Fioravanti in 3rd place. We've been focusing mainly on the fight for 4th and 5th. It's probably closest to the battles that we've got at the front of the field at the moment, as Herta looks to close up again. It's Diego Menchaka, but Menchaka is doing an excellent job of really managing the corner exits that are absolutely critical. He comes out of that chicane very, very well. He comes out of the Parabolica strongly too, and that starts to take away the possibilities for Colton Herta to find a way past. That said, the Carlin car tucks as close underneath this rear spoiler of the Campos machine as he can along the start and finish straight. And Menchaka doesn't even feel the need to move offline just yet. Is Herta close enough to pull the trigger? No, he's not. Follows in behind Menchaka for another lap. Meanwhile, Sathi and Thirikol and Pranenko continue their fight. Remains Pranenko, who's just got his nose in front. The other challenge here for Colton Herta is just not to get mesmerised by the car in front, because sometimes if you're a little bit quicker than your rival, but you run behind them lap after lap, you start to get mesmerised by what they're doing. You start to inadvertently follow their lines, follow their braking points, and start to lose that competitive advantage. And that really is what Colton Herta now needs to find a way to try and drive around. Carlin team on the pit wall, got the time for a little bit of a wave. They'll be viewing the data. The same goes for Campos Racing and Leonardo Pulcini. Pulcini spurts uphill through the chicane. He's got Damiano Fioravanti in pursuit, and this has been a solid weekend from Fioravanti, 7th in last year's championship. That superb victory at Monza as well, to his credit. But this has been probably the most consistent weekend that Fioravanti has had during his Euroformula Open career. 4th place yesterday, en route to 3rd today. None of them can do anything about that man, the Renault development driver Jack Aitken, reigning former Renault Euro Cup champion. And now Colton Herta is a little bit closer to Menchaka. He forces that defensive move from Menchaka into turn 1. Can Herta get the switch back? No, he can't. He's not quite close enough, is he? And this is the problem for Herta. He's able to really keep Menchaka honest, but he's not yet been able to fashion a clean-cut overtaking opportunity. But he's still got a third of the race to go, so he may well yet be able to find something. Behind, Tatiana Calderon in 6th has been able to rebuild her buffer over Igor Wililko. That goes out to 1.1 seconds. In 8th place it's Julio Moreno. 9th, Ferdinand Habsburg. And 10th is Kevin Andres. Herta, Habsburg and Andres, your rookie trophy podium as well. Fioravanti plunges downhill towards turn 7. He's being pursued by Menchaka and Herta. Herta takes a nice big bite of the wheel into turn 7 and then swinging through turn 8. Now, what was interesting to see there, the same really for Menchaka, minimal corrections on the steering wheel, a little bit of shuffling from Menchaka just as the car went light coming over the crest. For Colton Herta, nice decisive turns of the wheel. It suggests that the car is working well for him, but again, Diego Menchaka, through those final 2 or 3 corners on the lap, is just able to build enough of an advantage over Colton Herta not to be under threat heading towards the first turn. Again, Herta uses the slipstream. He closes up to Menchaka. He shows himself in Menchaka's mirror. But Diego has done exactly what he needs to do for another lap there. Tatiana Calderon with Igor Wililko. Then the gap back to Julio Moreno. Ferdinand Habsburg, who has shaken off Kevin Andres. And now, in fact, Habsburg might just be in a position to start thinking about 8th place. Julio Moreno, the Ecuadorian, who has graduated from the FIA Formula 3 Championship, running with the Campos team this season. There, Vaidyanathan, the Indian driver, in 12th place for the Carlin team, and having a much better race than he endured yesterday. Just outside the points, showing strongly. And the driver has moved on from the BRDC Formula 4 Championship. Midway through the 15th lap of the race, Colton Herta and Diego Menchaca, the battle we're watching for 4th and 5th place. The blue and white car of Menchaca has got the all-blue car of Colton Herta snapping at his heels, as he has done throughout the course of the race. Again, Menchaca is so good through this final sequence, and this is really where Herta needs to be right underneath his rear wing to have a chance of slipstreaming all the way down the front straight. They're starting to run out of laps. Jack Aitken remains the race leader. Second place is Leonardo Pulcini. Third, Damiano Fioravanti. Now, 4 laps to go. What can Colton Herta do as they flash through? He's in the tow behind Diego Menchaca, a little bit closer than he was a lap ago, but not close enough to make the move. Also not close enough to take a risk on something a little bit more dicey that may or may not have paid off. So instead, Herta just has to nestle in underneath the rear spoiler of Diego Menchaca's car. Here is our race leader, Jack Aitken. Aitken now 6.1 seconds clear of Leonardo Pulcini. Aitken had such a fantastic season in 2016. Will also be racing in the GP3 Championship this year. There's a driver who's slightly flown under the radar, possibly, of the mainstream British motorsport media, because he has been racing in Europe since 2013. Not quite as visible as some of the drivers who've been in the MSA Formula, BRDC Formula 4 Championship, but nonetheless has done all the talk he needed to do on the track. Had a breakthrough victory at the Hungaroring midway through the 2014 season, and he parlayed that into an excellent 2015 campaign, which saw him claim the 2 Litre Alps and 2 Litre Euro Cup championships. Leonardo Pulcini, though, in second place. Campos driver certainly marking himself as somebody who's going to be very, very hard to beat in the championship this season. Cars ripple over the bumps on the brakes towards turn 1. Still this fight for 4th and 5th between Menchaca and Herta. Herta, the top placed rookie in the race. Still a little bit anxious on the Campos pit wall, but they have had an excellent weekend. 2 cars on the race podium yesterday. They're going to have certainly 1 car in the form of Leonardo Pulcini on it today. Menchaca, though, 4.3 seconds back from Fioravanti in third, is now fully focused on holding on to that 4th place. This has been very nice drive from both Diego Menchaca and Colton Herta, very mature for Menchaca in not over-defending, and also for Colton Herta in not going for an overtaking move that was never going to happen, and eliminating both drivers from the race. Here is the 3rd place car of Damiano Fioravanti, climbing through the chicane. Fioravanti 2.8 seconds back from Leonardo Pulcini. Again, not enough to cause him concern. The RP Motorsport team, this is a very solid weekend, potentially to launch Fioravanti on to a little bit of a title run, because the last Italian who won the Euroformula Open Championship was Nicolo Schiro back in 2012, and that was with the RP Motorsport team, with Schiro starting the season in slightly indifferent fashion, but then as the season unfolded just became absolutely unstoppable. I'm sure that will be part of the master plan for Fioravanti's year. Of course, from Estoril, it's going to be towards the tail end of May when the paddock reconvenes, and that is going to be one of the season highlights for all the drivers. The Spa-Francorchamps circuit, the 21st and 22nd of May. From Spa, it's then going to be on to Paul Ricard a fortnight later on the 4th and 5th of June. That's the point of the year where the races come a little bit thick and fast. With a few weeks between this event and Spa, opportunity for the drivers to get a little bit more testing under their belts, really go back through the data, analyse where the performance can be improved and what needs to be changed. halfway through the penultimate lap. Jack Aitken remains in control out front. This is his principal pursuer, Leonardo Pulcini. Pulcini claiming his second career victory in the race yesterday to build on his triumph from last year when he was with the DAV racing team. In 2015, a very impressive year from Pulcini as he stepped up from Italian Formula 4 in terms of demonstrating his outright pace. What he has harnessed over the winter is absolute consistency. Into the final lap for Jack Aitken, and after the good start that he made, victories don't often run quite as smoothly as this. He is on course to get the full house. Pole position, fastest lap and the race win. He's about 3 kilometres from home as he climbs uphill towards turn 4. We'll head along behind the tail of the transporters. It's not quite a back straight because there is the right-hand kink at turn 5, which is quite a pronounced turn. And then on the brakes towards turn 6. And plunging back downhill once more. For Aitken, 8 seconds clear of the rest of the field. It gives everybody a very good yardstick of the sort of pace that they may need to pull out over the course of the rest of the year. Aitken heading towards the final chicane. Climbing steeply uphill, and then as the road flattens, the job is almost done. Into the left-hander at turn 12 now, just the parabolica remaining. This has been an absolutely imperious performance from Jack Aitken after the disappointment of race 1. He has more than delivered in race 2 as he accelerates out of the final turn towards the checkered flag, and victory for Jack Aitken in the second round of the 2016 Euroformula Open. RP Motorsport back onto the top step of the rostrum as well. Into second position for Leonardo Pulcini. He has had an excellent weekend, and Damiano Fioravanti continues to make it a great day for RP Motorsport with third. Diego Menchaca holds on for fourth, and fifth goes to Colton Herter, who also claims rookie trophy honours for the Carlin team. Tatiana Calderon home in sixth, clear of Igor Wililko in seventh, and Julio Moreno. Ferdinand Habsburg, his ninth place gives him the second rookie trophy place, ahead of Kevin Andres, who'll complete that podium. The rest of the field all streaming through. As you can see, there were battles throughout the pack. For Jack Aitken, the victories don't get much sweeter than that perfectly controlled race. Electrifying pace as well from Aitken, as he and teammate Fioravanti celebrate, acknowledge the applause from the crowd and the marshals around this Estoril circuit. Jack Aitken then our winner here in Estoril. Let's have a look at the full results. Aitken 9.2 seconds clear of Pulcini, with Damiano Fioravanti completing the podium. Diego Menchaca, a very impressive drive to fourth under constant pressure from Colton Herter, who finished fifth and was the top rookie. Ahead of Tatiana Calderon, building on her disappointment from yesterday to a fine sixth. Then Igor Wililko, Julio Moreno, Ferdinand Habsburg and Kevin Andres completing the rookie podium. Kang Ling just outside the top 10, clear of Amaya Vaidyanathan, then Kandati Kasiri, Yi Hong Lee. Sathian Thirikul will be disappointed with 15th, and likewise for Nikitas Lobin in 16th, not quite having the opportunity to push through the field as he would have hoped. The same for Daniele Casaniga and Petro Florescu. We know that they are both a bit quicker than that. So in terms of the championship, Leonardo Pulcini building a very healthy 18-point buffer, having had first and second place this weekend in Estoril. Aitken, Fioravanti, Menchaca, all very much in the mix in the early stages of the season, because this is just the second of 16 races that will comprise the Euroformula Open season. Because from here in Estoril we go on to Spa-Francorchamps, then Paul Ricard and Silverstone before the summer break, and then mid-September it's on to the Red Bull Ring. Start of October will see us in Monza, and then the double header to finish the season in Jerez and the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya So all in all, an excellent calendar for the drivers. As Aitken celebrates with the obligatory nose stand. Congratulations to teammate Fioravanti. Congratulations as well from the RP Motorsport squad. Aitken doing precisely what he needed to do. And that was a very comfortable and assured performance. Well, Pulcini shouldn't be too disappointed with second place. He didn't quite have the pace to match Aitken today, but he gets the applause of the Campos mechanics, because sometimes if you're not there with the pace to win the race, to get the best possible result you can is a real sign of maturity. And it's Pulcini who has sprinted to that early championship advantage. He's about to head to the weighbridge, and then very shortly we will be hearing from our race winner, Jack Aitken. The Estoril podium looking magnificent in the late spring sunshine. You can really get a sense, though, of how much the breeze has been picking up during the course of the race as well. Post-race scrutineering checks nearly completed. As Pulcini heads towards the weighbridge before moving on up to the rostrum. You could see all the handshakes as well between the drivers. That was a very clean race. As much as anything else, the drivers giving each other plenty of respect.
Jack Aitken, well done. Your first appearance in the Euroformula Open and the first win in this race to win Estoril. It looked easy.
It wasn't easy. No, I mean, it's a very challenging track, and it's quite a quick car, so it was quite a challenge to stay focused and keep putting the laps in. But it was nice to see Leonardo getting smaller and smaller in the mirror. So obviously, a really good race, and the car was perfect. So thanks to RP. Good job.
And you look set for being one of the top contenders this season.
Maybe, yeah. Who knows? At the moment it's just a one-off, but if we come back, for sure, it could be one of the contenders, like you say.
Well done. Podium now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take a look back then at the highlights of Jack Aitken's triumph. He made a super conversion to pole position and was chased by Leonardo Pulcini down towards turn one. Behind, it was very close for third between Damiano Fioravanti and Diego Menchaca. Fioravanti, holding his nerve around the outside line, was able to get the better of the Mexican driver, and that was fairly decisive. Thereafter, there was plenty of jostling in the pack in the early stages. As drivers looked to make ground. Petru Florescu, Nikita Zlobin amongst several who were able to gain a couple of places in the early running. Out front, meanwhile, Jack Aitken was pulling clear of Pulcini and Fioravanti as Ferdinand Habsburg slithered wide in pursuit of Colton Herter, and that was also repeated by Yi Hong Li later in the race. Daniel Pronenko and Tanat Sathian Thirikul had a good scrap outside the points as Pulcini was ultimately in a forlorn pursuit of Jack Aitken, whose performance was absolutely imperious, building out an almost 10-second advantage by the time the checkered flag came down. So it was a victory for Aitken, second place for Pulcini, third to Damiano Fioravanti, with Colton Herter's strong fifth place, giving he and Carlin the rookie trophy victory. For RP Motorsport and Jack Aitken, you don't get many more perfect races than that one. Race-long scrap between Diego Menchaca and Colton Herter just decided in favour of Menchaca for fourth. Applause on to the podium for Fioravanti, Pulcini and race winner Jack Aitken, on behalf of RP Motorsport, the winning team. British national anthem in honour of Jack Aitken. And the celebrations starting on the podium. As the race to uncork the bubbly begins. Move first of all to the presentation of the trophies. The first podium of the season for Damiano Fioravanti. Not quite the perfect weekend for Leonardo Pulcini, but nonetheless a very important one. First and second places for him, putting him in the box seat after 2 races in terms of the championship battle. And for Jack Aitken, well, we hope that we will see Jack throughout the remainder of the season, because he could well be a title contender too. As he celebrates on the top step of the rostrum. The cheers of the RP Motorsport team. I think they have thoroughly enjoyed that after not being on the podium yesterday. They've more than made up for it today. 2 cars in first and third place. And with the photography complete, it's time to enjoy the podium celebrations. Second race of the weekend, second race of the day rather, for them. Let's get the bubbly uncorked. And now they can celebrate. It was great to see such good sporting spirit between the drivers. A very clean, close and competitive race for the Euroformula Open. We now can turn our attention to the rookie rostrum, because this promises to be another very closely contested battle throughout the year. Kevin Andres and Ferdinand Habsburg busy debriefing. Ferdinand to the left-hand side of your picture. They had a good scrap earlier on in the race before Habsburg was just able to ease clear. It was Andres' Carlin teammate Colton Herter who took the rookie trophy win after that race-long tussle with Diego Menchaca. So into the third step of the rostrum. Kevin Andres, runner-up, Ferdinand Habsburg, and rookie trophy winner Colton Herter. United States national anthem in honour of Colton Herter, the top rookie in the second race of the Euroformula Open season here in Estoril. To move on to the presentation of the trophy. So don't forget, the 21st and 22nd of May is when the Euroformula Open season reconvenes at the legendary Spa-Francorchamps circuit, a very different track to Estoril, and one which always produces some fantastic racing. So make sure that you join us for that. But as Colton Herter and Jack Aitken celebrate their triumphs in the sunshine here in Estoril, we're about to let rip with the bubbly. It means it's time to say thank you very much for joining us this weekend. For myself, Ben Evans, it's goodbye from Portugal, and we'll see you in Spa in May.